Welcome back, everyone. I haven't made a video like this in a while. I just got done watching some putrid, rancid shit. And I'm not going to say who it was. I'm not going to mention any names. And the reason why is because while I was watching it, they happened to say people on the left, people like myself, say that, well, they go as far as to talk about what I call the alt-left, which they consider themselves progressivists, and I think that they're regressive. But anyway, those are the communist weirdo people that are not actually left. They're a different thing entirely. I, as an independent liberal, though. Anyway, these people say, that liberals, people on the left, say that they are irrelevant, unimportant, and will go away. But then they say that everybody keeps paying attention to them. So I don't really want to give them that platform to stand on. But they do make some really, really retarded fucking statements. Retarded. And I'm not even really sure why they believe it is what it is that they believe. So I'm just going to throw some things out here just because I know it's irritating to that particular people that exist in the world. Now, I don't want to try and censor anyone or deplatform them, but if you are going to make a truly deplorable argument as these folks, I think it's justifiably so that I have the ability to say, well, I disagree and here's why. So, just for the sake of being irritating, here we go. I'll read this. The bone density is quite a bit higher in the African Americans. It is also higher in men than in women. Asian persons tend to have bone density that is as low or even lower than Caucasians. Hispanic people have bone density that is about the same or a little bit higher than Caucasians. I know, you're probably like, what the fuck? But here's another one that I think this group would just find really irritating. All of Japan, even just 3,000 years ago, were bearded white people. But some scientists say bone measurements can't determine race because race, to begin with, isn't real. You might ask, if races don't exist, then why are forensic anthropologists so good at identifying them? And here's another one. I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Pure races, in the sense of genetically homogeneous populations, do not exist in human species today. Nor is there any evidence that they have ever existed in the past. There are obvious physical differences between populations living in different geographic areas of the world. Indeed. Alright, here's another one. Molecular anthropologists are often asked if DNA markers can tell what race you are. The short answer is no. No. We can't. We can't tell what race you are based on DNA. Imagine that. Mitochondrial DNA and why... Oh, how do I say this? I'm not a geneticist. I'm gonna be just upfront, frank, and honest. I'm not a geneticist. I don't know how to say this word. Haplogroups, I think that's how you say it, can tell from which continent your matrilineal and patrilineal ancestors came from. So DNA can tell you where your ancestors came from, but it still doesn't tell you what race you are. I'm not sure what that is. Like I said, I'm not a geneticist, so I have to rely on the things that I can find from geneticists and anthropologists and people of different scientific disciplines. But here's another one that I find really fun. I'm not sure where this is showing up on the screen yet. By the way, I've not done it with this setup before. I wanted the view of the table, and there are more than 3 million differences between your genome and anyone else's. This includes people of the same race and people of different races. The genetic diversity between people is the same unilaterally across the board, regardless of race. No shit. I'm not making this up. So your genome is not different than anyone else. It's got 3 million differences between you and anyone else. On the other hand, we are all 99.9% the same DNA-wise. By contrast, we are only about 99% the same as our closest relatives, chimpanzees. But that's besides the point. That I know we're animals, but... And then we have this one. However, because all populations are genetically diverse, and because there is a complex relation between ancestry, genetic makeup, and phenotype, and because racial categories are based on subjective evaluations of the traits, it is not the case that there are any specific genes that can be used to determine a person's race. Pretty nifty, huh? And then there's this one. All human beings are 99.9% identical in their genetic makeup. Differences in the remaining 0.1% hold important clues about the causes of disease. Okay, now, I read another article where they were talking about, and I'll leave the link to that in the description below so you can read it. I'm not going to read over the whole thing, but basically they were talking, they took bones of two males, they were both the same height and same physical condition, and they looked at their bones to see if there was any kind of difference between them, because one was white and one was black. They were seeing if there was a genetic difference between a white person's bones and a black person's bones. Honestly, the differences are so subtle and meaningless, it's not even worth mentioning. Basically, what I can summarize is this, is that in the health industry, you can say that on average, as a person that is black, you are more likely to develop high cholesterol or diabetes or high blood pressure. However, like you can say that you are at higher risk because you are black than a white person. However, you can take a black person that has none of that shit in their entire family heritage, anywhere in their family line. It's not there. No high cholesterol, no diabetes, none of that. No high blood pressure. And then you could take a white person that has all that stuff. You can't, as a medical professional, look at the black person and say, well, because you're black, you have more of a probability of getting diabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure, because the average is that the black people have that. But you can't look at a black person and say that, because it's nowhere in their family lineage to say that they would be indicative of having such diseases or such things. Now, but you could look at the white person and look at their family lineage and see that it's full of people with high cholesterol, diabetes, and high blood pressure, and say that they are more likely to get it than the black person, because the black person doesn't have it in their family, which literally translates to, we're all the same. Another way of looking at this, and a lot of people are gonna hate this, but we're fucking animals. We are animals. Evolution is fucking real. If the Catholic Church can understand that, I don't know why other people can't. But if you're an atheist, you'll understand where I'm going. Okay, we're human beings, we're animals. Let me explain something about human beings first. Human beings, these are things that I do know about genetics. So, no, I'm not a geneticist, but I know some things. And I know that if I knew enough about genetics, I'd be able to dig deep enough and hard enough to present the truth that there is no one race that is more superior than the other. None. You cannot prove that. There is no data for that. And if you are finding data for that, you're cherry picking. I'd be willing. I don't know. Those people fight dirty. I'm not gonna make I'm gonna make a gentleman's bet. How about that? But I'm not a geneticist. I would say that if you're going to make a remark other than this, if you are going to use genetics to argue that one race is more superior than the other, I would say that that would be an argument you would have to take with the founder of the Human Genome Project. Good luck with that one, by the way. I don't think he'll hear you out, and I think anyone who's making me a proclamation that genetically one race is more superior than the other probably lost their credibility in the scientific world a long time ago. So good luck seeking any kind of debate or consultation with the guy that is responsible for unmapping the human genome and the Human Genome Project, where they actually found that there are black people that literally have more genetic ancestry to Europeans than they do to people that are straight out of Africa, and they found white people with more genetic ancestry that is more relatable to people who are directly out of Africa than fucking Europeans. We're all the same. We're all the fucking same. But to put it in a different perspective, but first I have to say this. Human beings have the lowest genetic diversity than any animal in the entire animal kingdom. However, we have the longest genetic sequence, the longest DNA sequence. So, if we want to think, okay, so people are animals, human beings are animals. So, we look at cats. We look at the domestic cat, and there are many, many types of domesticated cats. We have Persians, we have Maine Coons, we have Tabbies, and there's a whole bunch. There's a fucking shitload of different breeds of domesticated cat. And if you're aware, even an animal that's similar, like let's say that we did for some reason want to do this. I would never recommend it, and I don't think anybody wants to, but if we did want to, essentially chimps are so genetically compatible with human beings they could potentially create an offspring between the two. However, it would be infertile. This is not the case between the different breeds of domesticated cats. So some people might be suggesting that we're like different breeds because there's different types of human beings. Nope. It's not like that. Look at the tabby cat. There are many, many, many different versions of the tabby cat. Some are orange. Some are different colors. Some are long-haired tabbies. Some are short-haired tabbies. There's a multitude of different types of tabbies. They are all one breed, but they come in different colors and varieties. This would be more indicative of trying to explain the human species than saying that there were different breeds, because there isn't. So it's basically like, I'd be willing to bet, but I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure, but I think that if I actually looked into this, I'd be willing to bet that all these tabbies that are different probably have about 99.9% genetic commonality, meaning that they only have a 1 or 0.1% genetic DNA ratio that is different from the other. That's more like the human race. There's not really, well, that's human beings in general, humankind, mankind. Not mankind because of penises, mankind because of mandibles, your hands. So, anyway, that would be more indicative of the human population, is that we're really not different breeds. We're actually one breed. Basically, we're a bunch of tabby cats. We come in different colors and styles, but we are the same breed of house cat. It's kind of like that. That's kind of how it works. Now, looking further into this stuff, it gets really complicated very, very fast. I tend to be... look, I like more like psychological things. I can do psychology all day. I can do some pseudosciences, but when you get into DNA... that goes a little above my head, but I'm really, one thing that I really can't stand are racists. I can't stand people like, I said I wasn't going to mention any names because they said that just keeps giving them platform. So, like, it doesn't matter if you're a white nationalist, or no, not white nationalist, sorry, a white supremacist, or a black supremacist, or a Japanese supremacist, or a Chinese supremacist. None of that matters. I fucking can't stand racism. I can't stand it. To me, it's so facile. It's such a stupid thing to try and even split people up over. And I mean, like, you can find diversity within white people. There's stupid white people, really smart white people, a bunch of in the middle white people. Why would this not be the case with anyone else? And how on earth would that make them any different? It doesn't. It doesn't. The scientific evidence that I can find that's on the table, readily available for anyone to go and look at without having to create a private Discord server and create drama in the YouTube community, can go and look this shit up. Anybody can. You can go and look up the Human Genome Project, too. There's no differences between the races. In fact, other than skin tone and certain very specific genetic markers, there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot difference between us. And as far as culture goes, I hate to tell you this, but psychologists, neurologists have proven this time and time again. Culture is taught. It's learned by the people who raise you, by the people you grow up around. Your environment, the people, the social settings surrounding you are what determine your culture. It's not genetic. That's the stupidest thing I've probably ever fucking heard. Oh, shit. Anyway, One of the things that this particular group of people brought up, and it just kind of struck a nerve with me, was they were talking about how white people aren't violent. Black people are. That's a load of fucking shit. The crime rates are depleting, and what you look at is in places that have a lot of black people, the crime rates are rising. Those places that you're looking at are places of deep poverty. If you look at black people who live in upper class establishments, you won't see it. They're not more violent than white people. The problem is you're looking at a demographic of poor people. Even poor white people are more violent. You stress any animal out to the point of depriving it from resources, especially natural resources that it needs to survive, such as food and water, health care, presumably. I mean, any animal backed into a corner like that is going to do what it has to do to survive. You can do a simple test. I wouldn't recommend this. This would be cruel, and I doubt anyone watching this is a legitimate scientist to be doing this experiment. But you could just take a rodent and deprive it of food and water and see what it does. It will get desperate, and it will do some pretty fucked up things. I'm sorry, I wanted to make a video against thou who shall not be spoken of, those who shall not be spoken of, this particular group of people. They really think that they're right about this one, and I don't think they are. And if I was a geneticist, I would totally step up to bat. Unfortunately, I'm not a geneticist. I'm a content creator, well, making YouTube videos, making arguments, espousing my opinion. I can do some creative works, but I like debunking bullshit, and I have to call this as bullshit. If you want to separate the white and black community, like if you want to separate the races into different continents of the world, can you just not bring it down to a scientific element and just say that you're a racist fuck that wants to do this? I mean, seriously, the scientific community, like, I want to see that happen. These people are making claims that there's genetic reasoning for them to believe that one race is more superior than the other, when I'm reading articles about it that are saying the opposite. So I think that if you're really going to make that kind of argument, maybe you should make that argument to somebody who's more qualified, like an actual geneticist, instead of, I don't know, a skeptic on YouTube. And if you are a geneticist and you're making videos about this on YouTube, how esteemed and accomplished you must be to be making YouTube videos about race realism and genetics. So why aren't you working as a geneticist? Maybe it's because nobody takes you seriously when you say things like that. Just a thought. But hey, if you get 1 million subscribers on YouTube, you won't get a Nobel Prize, but you'll get a fancy little plaque that says you've got 1 million subscribers. Good for you. Anyway, I'm sure that just makes you feel so fucking important, doesn't it? You're not. And I have a bit to say about content creators on YouTube's getting their egos so high up in the clouds that if there was a god, their head would be in his ass. So anyway, I need to stop that anyway, shit. Nobody that I'm referring to is probably going to watch the video, but I don't even want to name their fucking names because it's like, I don't know, I'm not trying to make a... for one, they complain about how hard it is that all their social media platforms get attacked. Yeah, welcome to the fucking club. I hate to tell you, even if you're a liberal, your social media shit gets attacked because there's other liberals out there called social justice warriors. You know, they're progressives basically, and they're crazy, they're insane, and they attack liberals like myself as well. Because but basically, if you want to be a social justice warrior like Riley Dennis, all you have to do is put phobia on the end of any word and say that it's something phobia, and there you have it. It's just you're a hate monger for doing that. That's all it takes. That's all you have to do. It's really easy. So yeah, they complain about that, but I think that they are pretty willing to play dirty and go and instead of making an actual rebuttal to a video, to an argument, I think that they're not above going and flagging somebody's shit down. I think that they totally would do that. And that's not my principles. I advocate against that, even when I talked about Wake Up the Black Nation. There's a black supremacist for you. I said, don't go and bother this guy. And I would really recommend not even watching his channel because he's such a racist and he hates like anybody that's white. It's just fuck white people. That's all he ever spews is just white people suck. And it's the same fucking narrative as watching a white supremacist, only instead of them being white, it's black. That's the only difference. So again, there's no fucking differences between the races. None whatsoever. We even do the same shit, apparently. The same bullshit. But yeah, so they complained about that you know, they're having a social media ground is so hard for them. And so I don't want to play any dirty games or anything like that. I just want to put this out there. Like, I'm not trying to deplatform you. I'm not trying to push you away. I'm just saying that I think your argument is shit. And I don't believe that it's real. Why is it that they call skeptics in the skeptic community skeptics? Is it because we are skeptical? I need evidence. I need proof. And I don't think you're going to find it because the things that I read are coming from reliable sources and multiple sources at that. So I'm more inclined to believe somebody who's been peer-reviewed and who has been published and been recognized by the scientific community and across the board and setting a standard for genetics. I'm more likely to believe that person when they say race isn't really real, come to find out, than a jackass on fucking YouTube saying that genetics say that one race is more superior than the other. That's all I'm saying. What do you think is more believable? Some jackass on YouTube or the guy that unmapped the human genome? Who's been peer-reviewed, published, won a Nobel Prize. I mean, YouTube jackass, guy that spent a whole bunch of years on mapping the entire human genome. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a geneticist. I'm not the person to really take the argument to, but I do submit this challenge. That if you really, really, truly believe that you can prove genetically that one race is more superior than the other, maybe you should go to that guy that started the Human Genome Project, or the guy that unmapped the human genome, and strike a debate with him about it. That I would like to see. That would be a good YouTube video. Shit, that would make a good fucking documentary. I think people would actually pay to watch that. But I'm going to go with the geneticists that are published, peer-reviewed, and recognized in the scientific world, and not a jackass on YouTube. I mean, that's just I don't know how much more common sense you can get about that, honestly. Really, I don't understand why you would say that that's unreasonable of me to say I'm going to believe the guy that's been peer reviewed and published and put into academia rather than some jackass on YouTube. And another thing I'd like to address is atheism. I heard someone say, I'm not going to mention any names because poor Fifis might get hurt, but I'm an atheist, and I did not become an atheist to say, fuck you, mom and dad. I was raised in an agnostic household. The reason why I don't believe in God is because not believing in God makes a lot more sense than believing in something you can't prove is real. That's my 2 cents. I just don't believe it. I mean, can you imagine, like, being sheltered away from all of society your entire life and then walking out into the world and finding out everyone believes in this imaginary thing? It would be like finding out that 98% of the world still believes in Santa Claus. Honestly. Get real. As far as culture goes, there's no such thing as white or black culture. I pick and choose my own culture, and I've chosen goth because I like gaunt. Anyway, hopefully I'll make another video about YouTube egos, just because it's been bothering me and I just wanted to address it. But I think this is going to conclude this video. I'm sure it was fucking offensive. I'm sure it was offensive indeed. I just hope that it was offensive to the right people and not the people that I would not want to offend, because I have utmost respect for all walks of life. And I'm glad that this narrative is not popular, because I think it's cool how when you see people come together, it's just a miraculous thing. This is something that's so human. There are things that exist across all cultures that are just innately human. Like the way a mother reacts to their children. It's the same across all cultures. It doesn't change. Because we're all the same. Culture is what's taught. Being human comes natural. Like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. And if you know who I'm talking about, who I'm making fun of, give a good laugh in the comments section. Like, share, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. And with that, out!